So, I was not planning to make a video today, but I was watching a podcast with Matthew McConaughey and Tom Bilyeu. I don't know how you say his last name, but he has the show Impact Theory. And some of the conversation that they were having just really inspired me to make this video because I think they were really touching on things that I think about quite often. And so I wanted to just kind of use that as inspiration and dive into some things and then, just have a little chat. One of the questions that I think about pretty frequently and ponder in my mind is, why are we constantly seeking stuff that is supposed to stimulate us, and we're seeking pleasure, and we're seeking ways to reach a certain point in our lives. We're seeking, ways to reach a goal. And I feel like we're in this perpetual state of working towards something, right? And we're always in this kind of like this mindset of, okay, once I get here, then I will, have something amazing. And I feel like our culture is almost like encouraging us to live in that state of like, we need to work towards success constantly, and we always need to be sweating for something, and we always need to be bettering ourselves, and we need to be working towards something that we don't have, whether that's a promotion at your job, or you want to buy a house, or you want to get married and you want to have kids. And there's all these things that we tell ourselves that we will like, it will just make us happier once we arrive there, right? One of the things that Matthew McConaughey was talking about in that podcast episode is about faith in God. And just bear with me, but I think that it's a really important and enlightening conversation to have, to ask the question, why do so many people choose to put their faith in God and in a higher power? And something that I feel like I am learning more and more about myself as time goes on is, there are certain things that come up in your life. If you're like we were talking about, constantly working towards something, and you feel like there is always something missing, and no matter how many like steps you take in the quote unquote right direction that you're trying to, be on the path towards, sometimes there just seems like you need to have some kind of faith in something outside of yourself. And I really enjoy hearing people's own story about faith. And, specifically for me, like, I am definitely coming into more of a having a relationship with God and exploring my own faith. But the reason that I wanted to bring this up is because what Matthew McConaughey was really talking about is the fact that, how is it that someone in his shoes, who has been, by all measures, successful, he has had a really vibrant career and he has longevity, he has the wealth and he has a family and he seems like joyous for the most part, right? And so, what the interview was asking him was, how do you feel like you've been on that path? And like, what has it been like for you mentally to, attain all of those things that we're supposed to want? And then when you get to the other side of that, like, does that make you feel differently, or what is it that, is filling you up at the end of the day, so that you feel like, okay, yeah, I'm in a good place and I'm not always needing to focus on the next thing? The conversation with Matthew McConaughey got me thinking about just life in general on a deeper level, because I think that there's a lot of people who think that once you reach a certain point, you're going to be happier and you're going to be more satisfied and everything's going to work out in your favor. And then you can stop worrying, right? Because I think a lot of people just want to like sit in peace and they want to like be happy. But one thing that I'm learning, specifically when it comes to why we seek pleasure, is I don't always think that it's that we're seeking pleasure. I think it's that we're trying to run away from the pain of nothingness and the fear of nothingness, that what we're doing actually isn't enough. And there's a lot of people who will say, once they get famous or once they get a lot of money, it doesn't change the fact that you're still the person that you were before, you acquired those things. And one of the things that I really wanted to talk about and kind of get to the root of is this idea that we all have that we need to escape what we're currently in at this present moment, and we need to chase something. I feel like we just have this belief internally, and that is supported by our culture as well, that says, okay, you're doing fine, but you need more. You need something else. You need something bigger. You need um, you know, another thing to add to your list of accomplishments. And I don't know, but I feel like sometimes it can be so tiring to even think that you have to do that. And, I think to just have a moment to sit in gratitude and say, oh, yeah, to look back on your life and say, oh, I have done some great things and I'm proud of where I am now, and the lessons that I have learned that have led me to this specific spot. And the reason that I was bringing up the conversation of having faith in God is because I think when you are not the only one driving the path that you're on, and when you do have some belief outside of yourself that maybe your life has more meaning than what you see through your own eyes. And I think oftentimes we are so critical of ourselves and we feel like we're not enough, but there is something to be said about having inherent worth and value, and having, a being outside of yourself say you are loved and supportive and supported. If I'm just thinking about my own life on a day-to-day basis, there are quite a few times where my mind just starts to wander to that place of, what am I really doing that's meaningful and something that's adding value to other people's lives? And I think we have such like a fixation in our culture on me, me, me. Like I need to do what I need, and I need to lift myself up, and I need to progress to this next level. And it's not even maybe it is an ego thing. I don't know, because I can't speak for other people who live in their minds. But I think that we are, as a culture with social media, we are supporting this idea that, oh my God, you need to get to the point where you have 3 cars and you can take, vacations to tropical places, and then you can take a picture and tell us all about it. And I feel like we need to get to this place where we're more in touch with something like faith, or something like purpose and meaning that is outside of ourselves, that's going to drive us to a deeper sense of fulfillment. Because there's a lot of times where, I will do something exciting, or I'll do something fun with friends, and in the moment those activities are really exciting, and it's enjoyable, and you're you know building your relationships with your friends, and it's enjoyable for the few hours that you do it. And then you come home and it's like, okay, what are you doing to proactively lift yourself up so that you feel like there's a sense of pride in your existence? And it is important to mention that everybody has different, affinities for things that give them purpose in their life. And specifically for me, I know that one of the greatest sources of my joy and meaning is my relationships that I have with friends, and, hopefully in the future, a romantic relationship. But I personally know like what is going to give me a lot of fulfillment, and I think sometimes I have let that stress me out because I'm aware of what I need to be more satisfied in my life. But what that has done for me in the past is it's taken me out of the current experience that I'm having, because I'm focused on where I'm going and not where I'm at. And I think that's really the message that I was getting from that podcast episode with Matthew McConaughey, is that how do you master this art of living to where you're, even though something is going to bring you fulfillment, how do you master the art of living so that you are not constantly in this state of longing, and I would even venture to say a state of lack, or this feeling of like, you're trying to have a more abundant life. And what I want to leave you with is just an urge to explore something that is not a superficial achievement, or something that's not related to an external instant gratification. And I want to urge you to explore other things in your life that might be more long term goals that are just, I don't know, more aligns with your purpose and makes you feel like there is a place that you have here, that is not just your job. It's not just in your immediate social circle. Maybe for you, that could be starting a family. I know, like, for me, that is something that I am hoping to have in the future, to have, just more of that sense of family community to build that up. I really do believe that everybody has something that, like, deep down, is going to bring you some sense of contentment that's, just only you know what that is. And I think that requires you to tap into your intuition and to really sit with yourself and say, okay, what is my life calling me to do? Or, what is the universe pulling me towards that I can say yes to, that I feel like is meant for me? And I think that's why when I see something now that seems like it might be a sign, take that as a sign and say, okay, yes, this is a sign. And I'm going to use this to try something new, to get out of my comfort zone. Because I think when you're saying yes to life and when you're more in tune with what your intuition is telling you, I think that's when you are drawn closer to your purpose, because you're not focused on what everybody else is doing, but you're more in tune with what is calling you. And so you can respond and you can say, okay, I'm going to try this thing that I've never done before, but it seems right in the moment. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But if it does, then I think you could be onto something greater than what is happening inside yourself.